Today we'll be discussing the right-hand rule number 3. This is used to determine the magnetic force of a moving charge. If the charge is positive, the direction is the same as the right-hand rule. If the charge is negative, the direction of the force will be opposite of the right-hand rule. Let's see some examples. Before we get started, a few things that you should know is that if the magnetic field is an X, it means that it is going into the page. If the magnetic field is a dot, it means that it's coming out of the page. When using the right-hand rule, you want to make sure that your fingers go along the velocity, the magnetic field always needs to go through the back of your hand, and that your thumb is the direction of the force. Let's start with this first example. The velocity is going to the left, so we need to make sure our fingers are going along the velocity. The magnetic field is into the page, so we need to make sure that it's going through the back of our palm, and we can see that the force is going down. The second example, the velocity is negative in this case, so we know that it'll be the opposite of what the right-hand rule shows us. So let's start by putting our fingers along the velocity. We know that the magnetic field is going out of the page, so we need to flip our hand so that it'll be coming through the back of our palm. And so it looks like the force direction is right, but since it is negative, we need to flip it, and we can see that the force direction is really left. In this direction, the velocity and the magnetic field are in the same plane. So we have our fingers going along the velocity, the magnetic field going through the back of our hand, and so we can see that the force is going out of the page. In the last two examples, we have the velocity going to the right, so we place our fingers along the velocity. The magnetic field is going into the page, and so we need to make sure that it is going through the back of our hand, showing that the force is going up. In this last example, the velocity is negative again. So this means that we will flip the direction of the force based on the right-hand rule. So we have our fingers going against the velocity, and then we have the magnetic field going through the back of our hand, and so it looks like that it will be going into the page. However, when we flip it, we know it will be going out of the page.